What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Us vs. Them YouTube channel. I'm your host, Vince, and we're going to break down the co-main event for the upcoming fight night we have this weekend for UFC Qatar. We got Belal Muhammad versus Ian Garry. Right now, Muhammad is sitting at about a plus 210 underdog, and Ian Garry is at a minus 265 favorite. Before we get into the breakdowns and all that shit, if I could just remind you guys to like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that stuff. It just helps this channel grow. Obviously, we're a small channel. We're trying to grow as much as we can and as fast as we can. So if you guys can help us with that, we really appreciate that. So yeah, let me get it with that. Let me just go ahead and get right into this breakdown. One thing you'll notice when you're breaking down these guys, especially if you're looking at their topology and all that shit, is that Belal Muhammad is going to be the older fighter. He's going to have almost a decade. He's going to be almost older by about 10 years. So, obviously he's going to, that he's going to have a little bit of experience advantage, but what he has an experience advantage, he's going to also sacrifice in just being older, losing a little bit of athleticism and, all the things that come with getting older. We already know that Father Time is undefeated. So, that's something that's always going to play a factor. How much of a factor it'll play, it's just kind of to be determined. I think the outcome of this fight is going to be determined based on one question and one question alone. Is Belal Muhammad going to be able to wrestle? If he's going to be able to wrestle, is he going to be able to actually hold Ian Garry down? It's really that simple when it comes to breaking down this fight. If it ends up being a striking fight, although I think Belal's striking is sometimes a little bit underrated. I think he gets a lot of shit sometimes for his striking because he talks a lot of shit. But the reality is, if this was just a kickboxing contest, it wouldn't even be fucking close. Ian Garry would absolutely slaughter him. And when it comes to MMA striking, I think it's the exact same thing. Obviously the threat of the takedown is always going to be there. But the reality is, as long as this fight stays on their feet, it's going to really, really favor Ian Garry. One of the reasons why I see Ian Garry having a big advantage in the striking is because of his speed. He's going to have a speed advantage in this fight for sure. He typically has a speed advantage against most of his opponents, but I think Belal Muhammad is probably on the slower side when it comes to his hand speed, especially compared to some of the past opponents that we've seen against Ian Garry. So the speed advantage is definitely going to be there for Ian Garry, but another thing that's going to help him with the speed advantage is his height and reach advantage. With that height and reach, obviously that speed advantage is going to be a little bit more exaggerated because his punches are going to have to travel a little bit less of a distance than Belal Muhammad's is. And Belal Muhammad is going to have to do a little bit more footwork to get inside, to get in the range where he wants to, whereas Ian Garry doesn't have to move his feet as much. So with that speed advantage, also having the footwork advantage, I think Ian Garry does have a better footwork than Belal Muhammad. Ian Garry is a type of fighter that he's going to look to, circle out and create angles. Whereas, Belal Muhammad is the type of guy that's probably going to look to pressure forward and utilize his grappling. So when it comes to that footwork and that speed and that range and that athleticism, all those things are going to play a factor here, and it's going to make it to where it's going to be a really difficult fight for Belal as long as it stays on the feet. Belal's path to victory is clearly going to be in his strike or in his grappling. If he's going to be able to go in there and implement a grappling heavy approach that we saw in the Leon Edwards fight, obviously he's probably going to have some success. But I just don't see that happening this weekend. Ian Garry showed in that Shavkat Rakhmonov fight that he has pretty solid takedown defense, and also when he does get taken down, he uses his submission threats to create scrambles in order to work back to his feet, which I think is pretty high level IQ or high IQ fighting. He's not really looking to get those gillies or get those kimuras or arm bars or whatever when he's on bottom. He's just using that to create space, to create scrambles, and then he slides right back up because he knows, as long as he's on his feet against pretty much anybody in the world, he's gonna, be kind of a favorite. And that's no different this weekend. So I don't see Belal Muhammad being able to take him down and hold him down for meaningful periods of this fight. I think Belal Muhammad could score some takedowns, but I think at best he's going to be on top for 20, 30-second bursts and land zero damage, and then we're going to see Ian Garry work back to his feet, and that's where he's going to go back to landing the striking and landing all those shots, just having the success in general in the striking that we know he's going to have. I think a common theme that we're going to see with the fights this weekend is this going to be kind of a changing of the guard, or it's going to be like the old school versus the new school. And this is definitely one of those examples of that fight. And I think we're going to see kind of a change in the guard here in the welterweight division. We got former champ Belal Muhammad against somebody that's coming to become potentially the #1 contender of the weight class. And if he does get an impressive win over Belal, he might have a case to be the #1 contender. So because of that, and because of the recent really good performances in the welterweight division from Michael Morales and Carlos Prates, I think Ian Garry's going to come in here knowing he's got to make a statement win in order to get the title shot for his next fight. And with him coming here knowing that and having the striking advantage, and also with Belal kind of being, a little bit older and maybe on the downward trajectory of his career, I think that Ian Garry's going to get this one done this weekend by knockout. So for my official prediction, give me Ian Garry by knockout. That prop is sitting at plus 460 right now, and it's one of my favorite props of this entire fight card. I could definitely see us working this prop into one of our parlays this weekend. That's all I got for you guys in this breakdown. Stop by for our next video where I'm going to break down the featured fight for the UFC Qatar fights this weekend. That'll be Volkan Oezdemir versus Alonzo Menifield. It's going to be it has the potential to be a good fight, but it's going to be a fight that I see a lot of potential to make money. So stop by for that video, for that breakdown, and that's all I got for you guys. So I'm the fuck out of here.